Folk is not and should not be viewed as a news source. Any names, places, or likenesses mentioned are purely fictional, and any information discussed is purely speculative. Guest opinions are their own and do not reflect those of anyone else. Where in the Folk is not responsible for content accuracy of any stories that are told or what people do with these stories. This show is vulgar, sometimes graphic, and due to its content, it should not be viewed by anyone actually.
Welcome to another episode of Where in the Folk. I hope everybody's had a great week. Thank you for joining me, Cecil, Tully, and Morgana here. We're going to be covering some Doomsday Clock, data privacy, and missile defenses today. This is what you read in the top there. Before we get started, I want to go on my restaurant adventure. So if you've listened to us for a while, you know I have serious beef, so to speak, with the McDonald's down the road from me.
Hey,
I figured out the cheat code. Okay. You just order single components and then put it together yourself, and they don't mess it up. So last time it was a sausage and biscuit with cheese. This time I went through and I was like, "Can I get a sausage and biscuit and a slice of cheese on the side?" No issues.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll get straight into it. Let's just get straight into it, shall we? Let's just get
sure.
I brought my own article because I didn't think Tully was going to send me anything. Now, this is crazy. I actually heard about this earlier in the week. I believe it happened last week. In Redlands, California, a man is accused of killing a couple at a nudist resort. Reportedly, he did so over a hot dog.
That's actually crazy.
Yeah. Michael Roy Sparks, 62, was charged. Well, this happened in September, actually, with 2 counts of murder with special circumstances in his death. Stephanie Menard, 73 years old, and her husband Daniel Menard, 79, is the people who passed away. The couple have been reported missing in the desert community of Redlands and were last seen at their home on August 24th of last year. They lived at Olive Dale Ranch, which is described in its website as a residential RV park. We got a bunch of those around here. But this comes with a nice little spice of flavor, as it's also a nudist resort. I like to live in a nudist resort when I get old.
Not me.
It's a no for me.
I think when I turn 60, that's about the time I'm going to quit caring. So, officials said that they found the couple's remains in bags in a concrete bunker underneath the Sparks home. According to the Press Enterprise, in the court meeting Monday, a detective testified Sparks admitted to another inmate that he killed his neighbors. He allegedly said the final straw was over a hot dog. He said Miss Sparks felt that the hot dog was Mr. Sparks felt that the hot dog was at a jab at him, make him feel like he's worth only $1 hot dog. It was $1 hot dog, and he felt like he's worth more than $1 hot dog. My question is, do the hot dogs get more than $1?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I don't eat hot dogs.
Well,
gourmet hot dogs could be like $10.
Yeah.
or even the little service station right up the street from me, you can get a $6 lunch deal. It's a medium drink, a 20, one of those regular size bags of Doritos, and a hot dog. So $2 per component, roughly.
Costco still gives you a pop and a wiener for $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
So does he feel disrespect every time he goes to Costco? Let's see. But another horrible thing he did, he's accused of beating them to demise with a rake, a hoe, and a hammer. But he also reportedly admitted to drowning their dog Cuddles in a sink.
This is just crazy.
Yeah. Over $1 hot dog. $1 hot dog. To me, one hot dog is just as good as the next. I mean, no, I don't like none of them unless they're burnt to a crisp.
See, that's how I like them. Throw them on the grill and get them charged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
then
monster.
throw some mustard on it and call it a day.
Yeah. He's a true monster, though. But that's the one I brought with me because it was crazy. I guess they just found the bodies or something. I don't know, but it was in the news last week.
I found one that it surprised me that that it wasn't on the list when I got to it. So I'm going to go through it.
Mhm.
They actually had sent up the Anita, the Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, which is like a balloon-borne antenna array that flies about 30, 35 kilometers above Antarctica. And it's designed to detect ultra-high energy cosmic neutrinos interacting in the ice. Well, they ended up finding something totally unexpected. That they started getting unusual radio pulses arriving from well beneath the ice at steep
Mm.
levels up to 30 degrees below horizontal. That, if coming from neutrinos, would imply that the particles had traveled thousands of kilometers through ice and rock first. Said that they just, like I said, they don't know what it is. They were not expecting it, and now we're just kind of, on hold to see if we ever hear anything else about it.
I mean, there's always been that long thought that there's a mechanical, like some kind of massive machine underneath the ice in Antarctica. Anyway, I mean,
Mhm.
it could very
Yeah.
well be that.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
be
but they're
real.
not going to tell us that.
We talk about Antarctica at least once a month, and we never hear follow-ups like the volcano that's shooting monoatomic gold.
Exactly. So yeah, they definitely never let us know what is actually going on, which means there's probably a lot going on.
Yeah.
So okay, that's the one I brought.
Well, just in light of all the recent events, I thought a Friday feel good. So an article was resurfacing from NPR that said, in the event of a nuclear blast, don't condition your hair. And it says the advice, which was mirrored by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, ready.gov, stems from the grim science of nuclear fallout. Vaporized debris from a detonation that mixes with radioactive uranium or plutonium byproducts forms dust that clings to that skin and hair. Human hair, with its scaly protein structure, can trap these tiny radiation leaking particles. Conditioner loaded with oily catatonic surfactants and polymers risks sealing this fallout into hair by smoothing damaged scales, making it tougher to wash out.
Okay, go ahead. Finish.
Go ahead.
Now I have serious issues with this because I am of the curly-haired persuasion, and if I don't condition, I have dreadlocks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you've not noticed, I've got these gorgeous locks of hair, and they require conditioning.
Well, I'm just saying, or NPR is just saying that.
I cannot pull a comb through my hair.
Yeah.
And I do it while conditioning is when I take the comb and go through it.
If they're saying that it's going to be worse on us if we condition our hair, then I guess you can kiss me goodbye because I'm not letting my hair go to the wayside. You know what I'm saying?
And then a follow-up. So we talked about this maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But there was a flight attendant that was busted for carrying 100 pounds of a deadly new drug made out of human bones. So an update on her, she's now facing 25 years in prison. And she is a 21-year-old former flight attendant, Charlotte May Lee from the UK. She was arrested at the airport in Colombo. That's a crazy name. On May 12th, 2025. Well, I guess it wasn't that long ago. With 100 pounds of Kush. It now means something different in some countries.
I was wondering about that.
It's a synthetic drug from West Africa, and it is a cocktail reportedly laced with human bones, fueling a deadly epidemic in Sierra Leone, where it claims dozens of lives weekly. So nowhere near touching fentanyl yet, but so Lee now in Nagumbo's prison's harsh conditions. think concrete floors and 22-hour lockdowns, faces 25 years if convicted. She swears the $3.3 million stash was planted without her knowledge, claiming it happened at a Bangkok hotel before her 3-hour flight to Sri Lanka, prompted by an expiring Thai visa. She says that she had no idea. But yeah, that's just an update on her. She is insisting, and her lawyer is insisting, that she is the victim here and not a mule.
Did you the description of what this does to people?
What's it
It's
do?
insane. Last year, the Sierra Leone went into a state of emergency. The side effects are nightmarish. Users collapse, sleepwalk into traffic, suffer swollen limbs with additives like formaldehyde and opioids, making it a death trap. This is the way that it's described. And another British woman was arrested in Georgia around the same time for smuggling drugs from Bangkok. So evidently, I guess that's the new big thing that they're shipping out around the world.
Yeah.
It may be the next fentanyl.
That kind of scares me because, I mean, you always hear that there's not new graveyards being built. That kind of seems like they're leading into like, oh, all these bodies are disappearing because of drugs. Like, I don't know. It's so weird.
God, that just reminded me. I've seen some crazy videos lately. Maybe if we can't think of something for tomorrow, we can just have a video watching party.
I know we've all been wondering where Easy Mac was. I was sitting here, I was like, I don't know where Easy was, and I pulled up the email, and they sent us something that we'll cover tomorrow too. It's
okay, cool. But
so
good.
And I was like, it's crazy. Just I want to say these things shock me, but it's like so much stuff is coming one thing right after another.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think I was struggling this week to even find. I was actively looking for some strange stories. I said hey to Linda.
Did you? I thought we neglected her this week.
I said hey. Only me, Linda.
Sorry, hi, Linda.
But yeah, just with everything going on, it's just absolutely blitzed. Even social media is just flooded with stuff about the Doomsday clock, and then the Doomsday plane actually arrived in Washington this week, which was crazy. And then you just got this overwhelming, like looming dread, I think is the only way to explain it.
I mean, it's everywhere. Like there was one article I seen. The first thing that pulled up when I pulled up the computer today was Earth on collision course with a star.
Nice.
If it isn't going to be a nuclear weapon that hits us, a nuclear weapon, then it's going to be a down star. They're claiming that Pluto might become unstable and take us out too. Like there's just so much doomsday prophecy.
I'd rather it be a star than a lot of the stuff that's going around. I'd rather it be a star than war.
I did see one that so one of the headlines was that Israel's missile defense system could cost up to $200 million per day. And guess whose money that is? So
gas, really gas.
It says that they are facing a severe financial burden from its military confrontation, with daily costs estimated in hundreds of millions of dollars, primarily driven by the deployment of the Iron Dome. But I was trying to get to, so since October 7th, 2023, the United States has allocated at least 17.9 billion in military aid to Israel specifically, which is some of the highest annual totals in history, including $4 billion singled out for the Iron Dome.
Well, my thing is, this is just my opinion. if you're going to jump out there and start throwing stuff at people, then you need to be prepared for the consequences.
It's so funny. I was talking to somebody about this, and it really is like that meme that said, "We're bombing for peace."
Yeah, right.
Yes. Like we're bombing for peace. We bombed them for peace.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Anytime I see something like this, I always run to Chat GPT to see what its input is on the situation now, just to see where AI is. And I said, why is the United States of America so involved with Israel? Nothing.
well,
Didn't even try to generate.
you have to keep in mind that ChatGPT also just won a military contract, so
Yeah.
I'm sure they're not gonna bite the hand that feeds them.
Was it one of you that sent me or has sent me several videos from this girl? I'm pretty sure she's in Britain that's talking to an AI model called Sage. And she's asking all of these crazy questions, and it's just giving some of the most profound answers. I'm going to have to find that because I forget where I got it from.
We'll play it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it before tomorrow night. Because like I said, some of the stuff it comes out with, you're just like, okay, it knows something.
There was something that kind of perked my ears up that I wanted to talk about with you all too. So China came in to New Hampshire and purchased, like, this has apparently been blowing up locally there. So there's a billionaire that dropped $67 million in cash for a 337,000 square foot commercial property on 23 acres right next to a water plant in New Hampshire. And what's crazy about this, the $67 million they dropped in cash compared to the property's assessed value, which was only $15 million, is leaving locals and officials scratching their head over the gross overpayment there.
Well, New Hampshire's doing this thing where they have a very strong movement of these libertarians that's moved to New Hampshire, and they're trying to take over like the local governments and things. So I mean,
haven't heard anything about that.
That could be it. Like they're a bunch of strawmen. They're like trading with like slivers of gold and shit. But that might be something to do with it. The United States is probably like, we can have that, you know. And
it says that this Chinese billionaire is set to make this place into a water bottling plant, drawing from Nashua. I guess it's the place in New Hampshire, their water supply, but it sparked fears about the strain on the city's drinking water, with concerns that millions of gallons could be siphoned daily. And it's also within proximity to Nashua Airport, defense facilities, and an FAA control center, which is all feeling unease, especially given another Chinese investor's purchase of the nearby Daniel Webster College campus for $14 million, which was also double that campus's worth. It's just crazy. Like we've been talking about China buying up land and properties and all of the stuff. Who's letting them do this?
Because I keep hearing on the news that, we're going to stop China. China, we're buying back everything they've bought here. We don't want them having any of our land.
Why don't here's an exercise. Why don't one of our billionaires try to go buy something in China?
Yeah. That's kind of
try to go buy this property in China and see how that goes.
Try to buy some in Mexico. Like, I found a piece of land in Mexico is $20,000 for like 110 acres. I was like, ooh. And then I went to research to see how difficult it'd be to purchase that. It's impossible. As a United States citizen, to purchase land in Mexico, I couldn't do it. I think this is the thought that I think people in government have. Let them buy the land, but revoke their visas. So they'll have the land, but they can't do anything with it. But I don't know how that's going to actually work because now you can buy your way in for like $5 million.
That's right. $5 million, and you get a gold card, not a green card, a gold card.
Well, in all fairness, if you look at, like, I know we talk about APAC and all of these Israeli investors into our government. I would say at least tied with them is Chinese lobbyists.
Yep.
So that's why you rarely hear anybody on either side, other than the select couple crazy people who don't take money.
Yeah.
I mean, people in Saudi Arabia is the one that owns the world now. There's trillionaires in Saudi Arabia now for sure.
Oh yeah, you don't ever hear
But
anything about.
They're never in the like Forbes top 100 richest people in the world
Because the
you
people,
never see.
the people in True Power, you never know their name.
Exactly.
That's absolutely true.
Exactly.
You know what blew my
everybody
mind?
says, Elon's the richest person in the world. I call bullshit.
This is totally random, but it just made me think of that. Apparently, and you may have to ask Chat GPT this.
I already turned it off. Mandy's wrestling pictures.
Apparently, Israel's prime minister, Netanyahu. Apparently, his name is not that actually. Like it's a name to make him seem more within the culture.
Huh.
And I believe that's Googleable.
That probably happens a lot, like pen names,
The only person I can think of that also did that was Stalin. Joseph Stalin wasn't his real name.
His original name was Malyakowski, but he later adopted the surname Netanyahu, means given by God.
I don't know. I don't know. And it's okay if you want to have a pen name or whatever, but to me, it's almost like posturing to make you seem more into a culture or something. Same with Joseph Stalin.
The only issue I have with adopting that name, did he decide that was his new name, or did like people decide that was his new name?
He did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, his given name at birth was Benjamin. His family name was originally Malyakowski.
From this point on, I won't be known as the BMF of the world.
Yeah.
Best motherfucker in the world.
Call me goddess. By the way, happy solstice to everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But yeah, that was something that was on my mind. I'm just like, well,
yeah.
If you don't even know the people's real name, like you're certainly not gonna see that on the news, like anything about that.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, and there, you also have China studying how to hack and crash American power grids. Sweet. Not that we haven't all postured that that's going on, but, evidently there is publicly available Chinese academic literature that reveals a scientific body of technically advanced research focused on disrupting Western power grids.
I've heard that same theory, Nost, but I don't think it's, I think it's like a step further than that. Than just, the religion itself.
Yeah.
I think people like the leader that we're talking about, I'm trying to be careful to not get us yeeted off of some places that we're streaming to right now, but I think they hide in with them, and that they don't actually believe in any of that, and that there was actually this week there are I saw videos. There's rabbis in New York with signs that saying that they don't support any of this and that their religion doesn't support this.
With that being said, if I ever get famous, I want my name to be Deuce Mongoose.
You'll have to see how that translates. But yeah, I mean, could you
A
imagine?
mongoose is a little rodent.
That's me.
Like that'd be the equivalent of like us having a presidential candidate and you don't even know their real name. Or like that goofball that got on TV this week and didn't know anything about Iran.
Yeah. While calling for us to bomb them and
Yeah,
take them out, and didn't know a thing about Iran.
Yeah.
but yeah, at this point, I don't think that politicians in general can be trusted. I mean, usually, if there was going to be any dissent for something like this, it would have already been said. But I think everybody's just kind of in a waiting game to see what ends up happening. But I didn't know this, and I sent this to these guys, but apparently the Supreme Lord of Iran also has a Twitter and has been going nuts on Twitter. So if you haven't checked out his feed, I was telling them, like, I think that our leader and Israel's leader and them should just get on, like, what is it, X Spaces,
Yep.
and just go at it.
Hash it out.
Yeah, before a nuke gets dropped, they should be forced to be in a room together, like to talk or like fight or something.
They should be put in front of an Xbox One or Xbox Series X, like I've got, and play WWE 2025, and whoever wins wins.
Yeah, well, yeah. Imagine a bunch of 80-year-olds trying to duke it out, and that's another problem with all of this is,
how close are they to their minds?
Yes.
No.
Well, also, like, think about the 80-year-olds in your life that you know and how well they can relate to our generations.
Yeah.
They can't. They don't understand. And I think a lot of them are still in that in that mindset. I saw a meme that was like, we were born too late for the first war in the Middle East. Too early for the second war in the Middle East, and too late for the third world war in the Middle East that's coming up, like to be drafted in.
Yeah.
But if it gets bad enough, just like with World War II, like they could start drafting up to retirement age if they want to.
Yep. And that's bullshit, considering that the vast majority of people in this country don't think this is a good idea for us to get involved in. I think that the last poll was like 78%,
Wow.
And that's a pretty high number. But, I've said this to you guys before, and I still stand behind it. To me, we need to wipe out the entire group and start fresh, because there are so many people that are too old to relate to 60% of the country.
They're not going to govern themselves.
No.
That's the problem here. They're not going to govern themselves, and we're not. I hate to say this, but like we've been dumbed down by so much stuff. Like if we didn't have social media or just all of the conveniences that we have today, I guarantee there would be like probably a sub army like at DC right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a militia group or something, like back in the day. The Boston Tea Party happened over like a 2% tax.
Mm-hmm.
And, now I think between all the chemicals and all of our food, all the water, all our dyes and everything in the drinks and food, and the frequencies, all the cell phone towers and 5G and Wi-Fi and everything else, I think it's all just frying people's brains. Like I don't think we've got even testosterone levels. Like a 60-year-old man today has more testosterone than an 18-year-old because of the decline in testosterone rates.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot that goes into that, but I don't want to say that we're not the America that we used to be, because there are booming points, but at least the young men are definitely not what they used to be.
Well, and I think in a lot of ways, because if you look at the fact, and even back when y'all were younger, but back when I was younger, especially, boys and girls didn't mature at 8, 9, 10 years old. Occasionally, you would occasionally have somebody that would mature, and go through puberty young. But most people were 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. And it's the hormones in the food, because like I said, you used to not have 2-pound chicken breasts. That was called a turkey breast, and I think that's a lot of it. Is like I said, the hormones going into the foods, and like I say, the dyes and the chemicals and all these other things, they have totally rewired the DNA, I think, as new people have come in.
Yeah. It's a bad deal. And how far it goes, nobody knows. I don't know what it's going to take.
Somebody does, but nobody in the normal world does.
Yeah. What's it going to take for people to say enough is enough
right, because Idiocracy was not supposed to be a how-to movie. It was supposed to be to show people this could be really bad,
Yeah.
You've dumbed down society that much.
I beg to differ on the hitting puberty early. This is a picture of me when I was like 4 or 5. So.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, but it ain't funny. It really is a big problem that nobody talks about. I do like that. I saw this week that Hans has committed to taking all of the dyes out of their stuff.
Really?
But they're doing it over the course of 2 years. They can't just stop.
They've got to wean you off of it.
Yeah, but that's what's crazy to me, because they're already not doing it for other countries. So why not just ship the turmeric or whatever you're using instead to the U.S.?
I went to straight drinking nothing but spring water and coffee, because I've started even went through all our filters. I filled up the dog bowl one day out the fridge, and it was cloudy. I was like, "What the hell?" And I changed the filter, and it was still cloudy. I was like, "What is that?" And now I can go to the spring where water literally comes out of a rock, and it's crystal clear. It's nuts. I don't know what that's.
If I lived where you did, I would.
City water, or do you have a well?
I've got. It's not really. I guess it's country water.
But it comes from a water company. It's not well water.
Yeah.
Because my water, when I feed the rabbits and stuff, at the end of a couple of days, there's like a settlement of iron. But that's because mine's coming straight out of iron-rich dirt.
I was trying to see if there's anything else pressing that we wanted to hit.
I'll send a picture to you of where I get mine.
There was yesterday there was 16 billion passwords leaked from Apple, Facebook, Google, and others.
That's not me. What is the world population? About 8 billion, so to speak.
Yeah. So TikTok's the problem. I'm joking.
I tried staying off that for. It's your fault, Tully.
Listen,
y'all did it.
TikTok is one of the last places, and probably because they aren't owned by, everybody that controls everything.
They're owned by China.
Yeah, TikTok is one of the last places where they allow dissent of certain groups. And
some days I think of too many groups, but that's part of it. You get the good with bad. But I can always just keep going. I don't have to stop and listen to it. I don't have to engage.
But then on the flip side of there's more with China too. There's an article that came out that they are studying how to hack and crash American power grids.
You mean the one that Morgana was talking about before you went on a 20-minute rant?
Yeah.
Let's mess with you.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
You can hit that one, Morgana.
No, it's fine. I mean, like I said, it's just that over the past 2 decades, they have published 367 papers on U.S. power grids and 166 on European power grids in peer-reviewed impact factor journals, primarily from Western publishers. They said these studies, subject to rigorous independent reviews, analyze how to identify critical nodes and links, simulate targeted or hybrid attacks like node removal or false data injections, and optimize minimal effort strategies to trigger large-scale outages or systemic collapses. Said keyword analysis highlights recurring terms such as cascading failure, outages, and vulnerability, with many of the papers using realistic US and European grid models to test attack scenarios. Despite China's own grid suffering significantly in architecture and design, which means, hey, the best way to compete with us is to destroy us. But the finding does raise concerns when paired with known Chinese cyber operations targeting Western critical infrastructure, including confirmed infiltrations and for potential disruption. We're going to go there. So the West's increasing reliance on Chinese-made technologies such as solar inverters and battery storage systems with remote access capabilities further amplifies the risk by expanding the attack surface. While these open source publications do not directly link to state-sponsored activities, their skill focus on real Western infrastructure and convergence with demonstrated cyber capabilities suggests a deliberate effort to develop disruption strategies. The documented capability, regardless of intent, underscores the urgent need for robust offensive measures to protect Western energy systems, which we currently do not have. Don't laugh.
No, I'm just glad that my speech impediment's wearing off on everybody.
Yeah.
It's been a long week, damn it.
But yeah, I think, well, what would it take, like, for you to be okay with going to war? Would it take 2 weeks without the internet, or access to food and water, or ability to pay it with money from your bank account?
Well, they always say that when the power grid goes down, it's going to cut off water and food, and that's going to lead to the decline. Have you ever been around people when they didn't have internet for 2 days?
Mm-hmm.
It's friggin' nuts, dude.
Well,
and myself included. If my internet goes out, I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't remember what it feels like to be truly bored.
I don't know. I think for this go around with these generations, I think it's going to take a lot more than a bus or a plane to get people on board with going to war this time.
You take my internet, I take your life. Is the way that they are.
Well, and and the thing about it is, I'm not going to even pretend that I'm not as dependent as everybody else, because if I had to pay a bill right now without online access, it would be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But
it'd be difficult. It'd be difficult for them to take the money. Like everybody's going cashless.
I was 17 years old last time I wrote a check.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine actually has been I had to order checks about a month and a half ago. It's the first time I've ordered checks since 2002. And I only ordered 250 checks.
That's about the time.
I had one particular loan that had to be paid by check. It's the only reason I kept them as long as I did.
Yeah, Landa, that's kind of what I was getting at, is like, if the only way that you're going to engage the younger generations to go to war is if they did something like that, and then they come out and say, Iran turned our electric off.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the check thing, like the last time when we bought our car recently, we took cash. We was like, here you go. And they was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. I still occasionally have to send in, like if you start a bait draft or something like that, there are still companies that ask for a voided check.
Really?
Yes. I've sent one within the last 3 months. I've had to do one for a 401k.
The only check that I can remember using in the recent past was to the IRS.
I send them pennies. Fuck them.
I will tell you something, Tully. At one point, Mo and I were having to do payments to the IRS for a while. And I sent them a check intentionally so they'd have to flip and wait. You know, I was not going to set them up to get that automatic payment.
Like
But,
that,
you know, at that point in time, I still did pay some stuff by check. But I would not, the biggest problem I would have with losing the internet would just be the convenience, because I'm a reader and I've got over 1,000 books behind me, you know, so I will always have something to entertain me, but not being able to just hop on and talk to you guys, because the thing about it is, if our internet and our Wi-Fi go down, our phones go down.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember how it was the first week after Katrina. Between me and Mo and my son, we had 5 different carriers of cell phone. And
I think it would have hurt, just like in Katrina. That didn't they form like militias almost? Like
in other places, I'm going to shout out South Mississippi did not have any problems with people acting stupid. But, you know, we were also the landmass. It was all about New Orleans and everything.
Yeah.
But it was just, you know, I remember how people were completely isolated and cut off, because that was when people were really starting to rely on the internet, cell phones. At the time, I had broadband, and I had to get on AOL dial-up for like 3 months after I moved back home, and I was ready to choke somebody over that. I had not heard that in years, and I had to rely on AOL. I mean, it worked, but it was not an easy work.
No.
But, you know, what do people do when you're relying on fiber or cable? Or, you know, if you had satellite, you might be okay, because they would have to take out the satellites themselves to lose that connection.
I was talking to somebody that worked for one of these companies that did satellite. I was like, so why don't you point that up at the sky instead of pointing them at them antennas? He's like, well, the antennas get it from the sky. I'm like, what?
Oh, goodness.
And that's a good note to end on.
They get it from the sky. That's why we do that.
What's Weird Awakenings tonight?
Transhumanism.
That's a hot topic now, ain't it?
I think we're talking about 2 different things.
Yeah, totally different things there. I made a point of putting the ism on the end on everything I use, just because I know how people do.
Yeah. So human animal hybrids.
Oh yeah.
Or cyborgs.
There might have been one spotted in Argentina this week, by the way. They're saying that they seen a Argentinian Bigfoot, but they're thinking that it might be a leftover Nazi experiment.
Well, if you got a video or something, send it and we'll include it tomorrow.
I ain't got shit. I just remember reading it. But I guess we're going to run one tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Sure.
Why not? Why not? So tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern on Where in the Folk. Tune over to Weird Realities Network, Weird with a Y, WYRD Realities Network, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, to catch tonight's episode of Weird Awakenings, where they're covering transhumanism. And that's in a few minutes. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And you can catch us every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, right here wherever you're watching us right now. And if you don't care, go ahead and give us a little like and subscribe, or at least a subscribe. We're trying to
just follow wherever you're watching. If you're on BitChute, go somewhere else and follow. Come talk shit in real time instead of dropping comments.
Yep. I'd rather that happen. But thank you all for tuning in and watching us, because we are watching you.